In a previous video, I told you what I think the comic book industry is. And the biggest part of it is comic creators. And in this video, I'm going to dive in deep as to why I want to make them the center of this industry. I'm Dennis Barger, 21-year veteran of owning a comic book store. Guys, the comic creator is the core of this industry. There are no comics without comic creators. There are no comic stores without comic creators. And there are definitely no flippers without comic creators. The content they create is what we sell, and we have to put them first and foremost. Guys, there was a period of time, a long time, where every comic book sold in America was pretty much on one of these. At that period of time, there were only 50 to 100 titles offered every month by each publisher, and they all appeared on one of these spinny racks. Well, 50 to 100 comics equals about 200, 300 comic creators creating all of that. The industry was pretty much a locked-in group. And as things happen, that gets broken up. It gets separated. It gets diluted. That's where we're at right now. There's so many people in this industry that are diluting what's left of it that the comic creator is getting lost in the mix. There's a lot of people who want to be in the comic book community and they consider themselves creator, but they're helping dilute the industry from people who are actually part of the industry. Who's diluting this? Well, guys, it's a lot of middlemen. There are comic creators that haven't worked in a long time, and they're out there looking for work. These guys are super talented, but they know their worth, and they tell the industry what their worth is. I won't do a cover for less than $1,000. I won't do a signing for less than $10, a signature. Then there are people who are like, well, I can't make profit on that. So you've got the middlemen saying, we don't want to pay you old timers prices. You got the young bucks coming up saying, I'll work for half the amount. And then you have AI. AI is about to eat everyone's lunch. And AI works for a lot cheaper. AI doesn't realize that it's going to be the death of the comic industry. But the people who are utilizing AI don't care. We have to brush those people out of the temple, and we have to prop up the people who deserve to be there. The best way for us as the comic community is to work directly with those people and help the fans find the comic creators. Kickstarter is one of the best uses for that. Guys, I'm not against Kickstarters that connect a creator with his fans. What I am against is Kickstarters that are basically just reprints of old comic books that the rights have basically lapsed on, and people profiting from those reprints in Kickstarter form. It's one more thing to dilute current creators from finding the fans of theirs through a Kickstarter with this stuff all in the middle. Kickstarter is a double-edged sword. It's one of the greatest ways for current comic creators to find a potential fan base that they can connect to and sell product directly to that the comic retailers and the comic publishers were not going to support. But also recently, it's been used by major corporations to sell reprints to those fans directly. And there's not a lot of the original creators involved in those projects. Guys, in that first video, I called out Absolute Batman 19. I meant to say 20. And at that time, there were 100 different variants for that comic book. Now I've been told there are over 199 different variants for Absolute Batman 20. Sure, that means 200 creators got to create covers and get paid. But who did they have to create them for? Did they have to create them for middlemen who only gave them a small portion of it and then they get to profit off of those creators? I don't know where the line is, guys. I want creators to work, but I also don't want them to work for middlemen who give them the smallest cut of the share. And the more of those covers that are made, the more diluted the product gets. It's up to all of us to call it out when we see it. This industry has to be a game warden to protect the customers, to help protect the comic artists, and to help protect the industry. We have to call it out when we see it. We have to be better game wardens for our comic community preserve. And when we see something, we have to call it out. Guys, the Dan Quintanas variant scandal is exactly what I'm talking about as well. I'm pretty sure DC realized how big of a mess that was. That's why Scott Snyder went on for 24 hours selling off comps to try to level out that collector's community and give a benefit to be game wardens. That's absolutely what we have to do. I'm sure DC Comics had something to do with that, but they had already signed 200 contracts for these variants they couldn't back out on. The industry is changing. I don't know how long it's going to take to actually see that change, but every one of us talking about it, calling it out, is going to help change it. And that's why I left the Industry of Comics show. I felt they were caring too much about the middleman making a profit off of the creators and getting to the consumer than they did about the industry as a whole. I don't care about the middlemen. They are insignificant to this industry. It is about the comic creator and the customers that buy the comics. Sure, comic retailers are a middleman, but we help bring that audience together, and we don't ask for a giant profit to do it. The variant hucksters and the middlemen and the flippers, they want way more return on the investment than the comic book stores ever ask for. I'm not worried about comic shops. Guys, I'm gonna survive. I've created videos to show other comic shops how they can survive the next implosion or the next crash. But I'm worried about comic creators and the comic customers. They have to see value for what they pay. If they enjoy reading it, it's a very small purchase price to enjoy it, and they're not gonna be upset. But it's when they pay $10, $20, $100, $1,000 for a worthless back issue that a middleman hyped up, that's when this industry collapses. Guys, this is the way we used to do it. We're not doing it that way now, and I'm not saying we need to do that now. But if we don't come up with a happy medium between this and the way it's going right now with 200 variants of absolute Batman 20, we are in for a load of trouble. I'm Dennis Barger, celebrating the past and living for the future.